Creativity is an addiction. We're all survivors of our creativity. Just when you think you've got it under control, you gotta have more. And then you try to push it away, but you gotta have more. Unplugged, because we will always say yes to creativity. Totally uncut, because we all make mistakes. So turn it into a tool. This is Arroe Unplugged. I do a thing called defragging. I don't know if I'm the one that came up with it. I could have come to me as a dream. It could have been something I read in a book. But then again, we always talk about defragging the computer. And I thought, wow, I wonder what would happen if you defragged your brain, your heart. You know, they're hard drives, right? Your brain and your heart. So I started doing a defrag journal every day, doing nothing but asking myself questions. Because in those questions, you start putting the things together. Instead of sitting around, moping around, trying to figure out, how did this happen? And really, your memory only lasts so long, and then you start making up the story. So I created a defrag journal, sitting down every day. Here's the thing. I've been talking about it with other people of creativity, and they're going, how come I've never heard of this thing called defrag? And the reason why is because, well, I guess nobody's talking about it. That's what this is. This is defrag. I wish I would have taken this device into the doctor's office with me today so I could document what was taking place. And what it was, I was there because I had a heart attack at the age of 47 in 2009. And so the doctors are always saying, get in here. We got to look at your numbers. Get in here. And so today I went in there and I was shocked. I thought they were just going to look at my cholesterol. But the doctor came up to me and said, oh, hell no. I need to look at your blood pressure and I need to look at, what your heart is doing, what it sounds like, or your lungs and things like this. No. You aren't just going to come in here and give your blood and then take off. So I went in there. Sure enough, man, blood pressure is kind of through the roof. And he looks at me and he says, what are you doing? And he says, are you walking? Are you getting exercise? Yeah. What are you doing? I mean, we got to get this thing under control, dude. I mean, you've been my patient now for a long time. And for a long time, I keep giving you meds and it ain't going down. What are you doing? And you kind of sit there and you feel like that you're sitting in front of Jesus, right before you go into heaven, and you're going, oh my God, this is the guilt trip, man, because I don't eat right the way I'm supposed to, because I like eating pretzels on the way home from the essential job. I like fried chicken. I like that kind of stuff. What are you doing? He kept asking. He says, you got to stop. How much coffee do you drink? And I told him, I said, I don't drink a cup of coffee. I think it's like maybe 4 or 5 cups in one gigantic big cup. And so I sat there while listening to him, and he was scaring the hell out of me. And because he, for some reason, just felt this need in that moment. What are you doing? And so that's what this defrag is going to be about, because I think that we all need to be asking that question, what are you doing? I can be mentally prepared to go into each day because of my journal writing in the morning and keeping a defrag journal in the afternoon and late into the evening. But that doesn't purify what's happening to my heart and my head. And so the goal is to, the fuel that you put in, dude, the goal, okay? How about the daily discipline on this? You got to start putting some good stuff in your body, and it's too easy to go to the comfort food. And it's it's like after a long day at the essential job, what's the last thing I've been doing? Oh, let me just go ahead and grab a couple of Snickers bars. So the question is that what are you doing? Well, I'm using it as a vice. These foods, the pretzels. Oh, look at these potato chips. Oh, check this out over here. Oh my God, look at this. It's new popcorn. It's the flavor of Captain Crunch. I got to do it. Dude, what are you doing? And so now I'm sitting here having a conversation with myself saying, okay, you know what? If you keep doing, I think you're going to get your ass kicked, and you may not get a second chance this time. So let's go ahead and defrag what's happening here, okay? Because like I said, I think the food is a vice. I think it's what I'm going to in order to feel better about something that is going wrong. And so you have to sit there and ask the question, defrag it, what's wrong? Tell me. You don't have to tell anybody else. Just tell me what's going on the inside of your core. And I think it's because, when during the lockdown, we lost everything. I mean, we lost everything in our promotions, our jobs and things like that. And yeah, I loved being at home with my wife all the time. I really did. But what happened is that we went on an extreme budget. Now, I don't know about you, But first of all, I grew up in a very poor family home. I did. And so I already had the fear of being poor myself. And so that's always been my drive and why I was so addicted to the early stages of terrestrial radio, because I was always afraid of being fired. So I never said no to anything. You're not going to fire the guy that says yes to everything. He's a team player, right? No, he was scared. He was scared every day that he came to work. Well, what's happened is now that the lockdown is over, my real life is back. Not only that, but all the jobs that I took during the lockdown, I'm still doing them. So I sat down during my defrag writing today, and I figured out how many hours I'm putting in doing part-time jobs. And you ready for the number? And I think that's the reason why I'm eating and why I've turned food into a vice, into a drug. And I'm getting the results of that by the doctor saying, "What are you doing?" I'm doing 78 hours a week at several different jobs. And I think in the defrag process, we got to come up with a way to slow this monkey down. My question would be, how do you cure, or can you cure, a workaholic? If it's fed by fear, the fear of not having, if it's fed by the fear of not being accepted because you don't have, then you work really super hard so that you can have. And it's like keeping up with the Joneses, but you never know who the Joneses are. You just know that, well, I made a commitment, I have to show up. And so when you wake up in the morning and you look at your Google Calendar and you see that every single block is full of something that is expected of you today, what do? I reach for the food because it's a comfort. It's a release. It gives me the opportunity to say, well, the day's going to suck. You know it is, but Captain Positive, he's going to feel better because he's going to have bad food. Let's defrag that. Why is it the one thing that I go to? Where are the other comforts in life? Well, I can't write all day. If you saw how many pages I write with a writing instrument, you would see why my hands cramp up all the time. There's only so much paper that I can use, and that's part of the daily discipline as well. And it's 3 pages in the morning, and with the defrag journal, there have been times I've done up to 9-10 pages of handwritten thoughts. And I thought, you're addicted to this, dude. You can't do this. Don't become addicted to the writing. You can't turn to this, because during those moments where the tablets are at home, what are you going to do? What's going to be your vice? Probably the food. I'll probably stop in at a 7-Eleven or a Circle K, get myself some bad food, and then hear the doctor say, "What are you doing?" This is why I invite you to pick up a good habit of defragging by creating little moments. You could be in the car, you could be at work in a very private place, you could be at home. It doesn't mean that you have to showcase what your soul is doing or what kind of taps it's beating out. What you do is you ask yourself simple questions so that you can piece together the puzzles. I wrote this morning about how messages come to us from the universe, not all at once, but without defragging, you don't understand what message goes with what message, and you get kind of confused. I call it controlled chaos. But if you defrag and you really do listen to things that are moving through you, then you'll be able to get the sentence. As a martial artist, what they always taught us is that the black belt, what a great place to be. When they wrapped that black belt around your waist during the tea ceremony, loved it. It was very heartfelt. But in reality, I only knew how to do one thing: create words. That's my first dawn, create words. Second dawn, now you're creating sentences. And as you grow, you create paragraphs. Paragraphs become books. It becomes stories. It becomes community driven. Do you understand what I mean? Before there can be paper for me to write on, there has to be a seed. So your question might be, how do I get started with this thing called defragging? First of all, you don't even have to call it defragging because it seems like such a word, an electronic word. It starts with you just asking yourself in the mirror, "Hey, how are you doing?" No. Before I answer, I'm really asking, and I'm not asking for a friend. I'm asking you as your friend. How are you? And allow your eyes to do the talking in the first moments. Now, here's the thing. There's a big chance that when you stare at yourself long enough that very first time in the mirror, A, you're going to feel stupid because who does this? And B, you might actually start crying. Because that inner core of your system of choices has always wanted to be heard. And right there in that bathroom mirror, you're saying, "Hey, I'm here. I want to listen. because we're making some decisions that really don't agree with a healthy lifestyle. I totally understand that it's very difficult to take your thoughts and put it on paper. It is a fear of other people getting physical evidence of where you are mentally. But what happens is that Julia Cameron taught me this in The Artist Way. When you handwrite things out, you're getting your body involved. It's amazing how it affects my breathing. As it's almost like mentally exercising your soul, because it does affect your breathing. Your body's involved. And the thing that's really neat about it is that it gives you an opportunity to come back to it, not to judge it, but rather have an insight of your insides. And you know, it's one of those things where if you can just grow with it and not demand anything from it, beautiful things begin to happen in the eyes that are staring at you in the mirror. I call it defragging. If you try it once, don't stop after once, give it a week. 10 minutes, man. Maybe even 30 or 40 minutes. But have a discipline. Don't sit there and become addicted to it, because all of a sudden you found a brand new best friend and you can spill your guts and things. What you want to do is you want to be able to build a relationship when you defrag. I'm Arroe, and that's Defrag.